Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is leading the way on SNAP funding. That is food stamps. 10 GOP senators have signed on to back Josh Hawley's bill to fund food stamps as the government shutdown threatens a program lapse coming up here on November 1. He was joined by James Langford of Oklahoma, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, Bernie Moreno, Ohio, Kevin Kramer, North Dakota, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Katie Britt in Alabama, John Husted in Ohio, and John Cornyn in Texas. There is only one Democrat, Peter Welch in Vermont, who has co-sponsored the bill. So this would keep the food aid program for states open across the country until basically the government shutdown ends. And the USDA, Department of Agriculture, which oversees food stamps, can receive its allotments through appropriations or stopgap measures. So I get what Josh Hawley is doing here. I understand it. And a week ago, I was like, I'm not sure this makes a lot of sense. Okay, I don't think this is something that Republicans can win on. But then I took a step back, and as the last week has gone on, said, you know what? Hawley's right. I'm with Josh Hawley on this. And I disagreed with him a week ago. A week ago, I thought, well, hold on. This is going to make Republicans look bad. If people vote against having the food stamps continue on, then people are going to say these Republicans are just, not caring about the poor people and not caring about the kids who need food and everything else. But think about this. You've got 10 Republicans and only one Democrat who have really signed on to the bill. So it doesn't look like it's going anywhere to begin with, to be very clear. It doesn't look like Josh Hawley's bill is going anywhere. But I'm a fan of it. Because what it does right now is, first off, it brings the conversation to the forefront of saying, despite this government shutdown, there are people in real need who need food stamps. And what are we going to do if they can't get their food stamps? The other part of the conversation, which I think can be had in tandem at the same time, is why are 40 million people, why are 1 in 8 Americans on the program? That's not a safety net program. That's a lifestyle. Those are two different things. You want a safety net program? Listen, we're good on that. We're a generous country. We help people. That's what we do. We don't need people, dying of hunger on the streets in America. No way, no how. I get that. But while we need the program open and there are people who will really struggle without it, we've got too many people on it. That's clear. So that's something that I think should be tied into the conversation that Josh Hawley is trying to have here. And Josh Hawley is trying to buck his own party in this. Because there are people within the Trump administration who are saying, no, if we want to get food stamps to people, well, guess what? Democrats open the government. They're trying to put the screws to the other side of the aisle right now, ahead of November 1, by saying, you guys can open up the government in a heartbeat. I need 5 votes in the Senate from you, and the government's open back up, and everyone's getting their food stamps. And Republicans are thinking that this might be the only way to get the government back open up anytime soon. On the flip side, you've got the Democrats who are thinking to themselves, hey, if people don't get their food stamps, they're going to blame Trump. The media is going to help us with our cause. We know that's coming this weekend. So you know what? We're going to roll the dice. And that's where these two sides continue to be very far apart, John.
They do, but it seems like maybe the Dem strategy is just kind of yelling in the echo chamber based on some recent results of polls about the GOP popularity during the shutdown.
Well, you're right about that. CNN had this, and we played it very early this morning, that Republican approval ratings within their own party is up 12 points, and even among independents since the shutdown began, the GOP popularity is up 8 points. So go make sense of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brooke Rollins, she runs the USDA, which oversees the food stamp program. And here's what she told Fox yesterday.
Does the USDA have the money to keep this program should you choose to? Or has the well truly run dry?
100% unequivocally, USDA does not have the $9.2 billion that it would require. There's not just pots of $9.2 billion sitting around. And what's particularly rich about New York saying that, or California, or any of these other blue states that have filed the lawsuit that say, oh no, we're going to go, you guys, USDA, go find the money, is it's their very friends, partners, colleagues, Democrat elected officials that continue to vote over and over again to keep the government closed. Again, shame on them. I cannot begin to understand what they're thinking. Even their own union, right? Even their own federal government employee union, I don't know the exact name, is urging their own Democratic leaders to open the government back up. Listen, Chuck Schumer's getting paid. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is getting paid, but our air traffic controllers not getting paid. Our food stamp recipients are not going to get their benefit beginning Saturday. Our law enforcement, those that are keeping us safe, not getting paid. It's just, it's unbelievable. And I've never seen anything like this. It's surely they're going to change their mind and vote to open any day now.
Well, I don't know about that. Brooke Rollins, head of the USDA. Surely they're going to change their mind. Today's the start of week 5. There's nothing to suggest that they are going to change their mind, but clearly what's going on is the USDA, this administration, has made a fairly risky calculation that they're not going to send out food stamps. Now, she says the money's not there. The money's always there, okay? It's the federal government. They're $37 trillion in debt. Let's not kid ourselves here. The money's somewhere. There's $9 billion sitting around somewhere, and if not, they print it. This is a political calculation they are making to try to get Democrats to open up the government. But it could backfire. I'm not saying it will, but it could backfire on them. And that's why I'm a proponent of Josh Hawley's idea to say, you know what, get the food stamps out for November, have the debate on food stamps when the time is right. The president did brag this morning while he's overseas in South Korea that in 9 months they've lifted over 600,000 Americans off of food stamps. That's great. There are 40 million Americans on the program. Getting 600,000 people off is good. It's not mean. It's good to be self-sufficient in America. That's what we want. You can have a safety net, but still encourage people to be self-sufficient. You want to teach a man to fish, not just give him the fish. That's the goal in America. That's what we all want. That's what we all strive for. But at the same time, you look at the program and you say, okay, you know as well as I do, whether it's the Kansas City Star here, whether it's local TV here, whether it's the Sunday shows coming up this weekend, you know and I know if those food stamps aren't going out, they will be teed up with story after story after story of people into the holidays, into Thanksgiving, who don't have their food stamps, and they're going to run that thing back all day, every day. And that could be something that backfires. I'm not guaranteeing it, but it could be something that backfires on the Republicans. So if you take Josh Hawley's idea, you pass the food stamps for now, and then the other thing that happens is the government stays shut down, which is not a good situation. But at the same time, I think it notes the hypocrisy of the other side of the aisle here. While they get paid and air traffic controllers don't. While they get paid and people in the military don't. And that's going to hurt them, and that is going to resonate, I believe, across the political aisle far more effectively than food stamps will. It's 7:14 on a Wednesday morning on KCMO. So we'll see how this plays out as the day rolls along, but we are up against it. I mean, I know that harvesters here in Kansas City and other food banks are saying that it is not going to be a good week coming up next week. Harvesters telling the Kansas City Star that they are nearly bare. They are no longer full of canned vegetables, soup, rice, or protein drinks for seniors. They're trying to refill as best as they can, but in recent days, they tell the Star, as the nation goes through a 4th week of a government shutdown, it is getting harder for the local food bank to keep them stocked. So that is going to impact Kansas City, and it's going to impact major cities around the country if we get to November 1 and they can't open this thing back up. We'll get to your calls coming up at 913-408-7957. And in 20 minutes, I will give you something around the future of one of these two stadiums in Kansas City that you're not going to get anywhere else. We'll share that with you coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio. Good morning. Rainy, windy Wednesday across Kansas City. Glad you're here on KCMO. So we've got the SNAP benefits that are getting all the attention ahead of the deadline of November 1. USDA is saying that the benefits will not be going out. The food stamps will not be going out if the government is still shut down. Josh Hawley here in Missouri has introduced a bill that doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but he has been joined by 10 other GOP senators to basically continue food stamps even if the government is shut down. There's only one Democrat, this guy in Vermont, Peter Welch, who has co-sponsored the bill. So it doesn't look like it's got legs, but I'm a fan of it because it takes that card out of your political opponent's hands. And you can keep growing your margins, which the GOP is doing right now amidst this shutdown. CNN has new polling out as of yesterday that shows Republicans' popularity is actually up since the shutdown. 12 points with the base, 8 points with independents. Ron is in Baysore. Hey, Ron, good morning.
Hey, Pete. What I'd like to hear you talk about is the numbers that are coming out, and some of the news agencies are reporting, obviously not the mainstream, about the ethnicity of the people that are on the food stamp program. And it looks like there's a lot of people that Joe Biden let in the country that are on food stamps. And that's contrary to what Trump wanted to do in Trump 1.0 when he said, hey, you want to come to the U.S., you've got to have a job. You can't come over here and be dependent on the government. So I'd like to see you talk about that and do a little digging and tell your readers, your listeners about those statistics that are out there.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's really not ethnicity based. It's more just legal status based. We know there are illegals on food stamps. Now, if you Google this, Google will tell you, well, no one who is illegal is on food stamps. They may just be on food stamps because they live with somebody who has some type of legal status. I've seen things on social media suggesting it's one number. I found studies that suggest it's 1.5 million out of 40 million who are illegal on food stamps. I have not found a good solid number on this, but I do know that this administration has made it a point over the last 9 months to make sure that anybody on food stamps is, of course, an American citizen. I have not seen anything from the administration suggesting what their estimates are of people who are here illegally on food stamps because, frankly, I don't think they know yet. The amount of people who are getting these benefits and knowing people who have gotten them, it is fairly easy to get on and it's hard to get off. So I don't think that this happens overnight, to be honest, when it comes to figuring that number out. But it's part of the problem. You're right. I mean, it's part of the problem. There's no doubt about it. But still, when you got 40 million people on the program, the big thing to me is figuring out how to get that number down. The president said this morning in South Korea, they've gotten 600,000 people off of the food stamps program through 9 months. That's great. I want to see more. Alfonso is in Blue Springs. Go ahead, my man.
Josh Hawley is totally wrong. You and Josh Hawley are totally wrong on this. We cannot cave because what's going to happen is going forward, if we cave with this situation, the minority party will always use this to combat the reconciliation bill. And we can't do that. If we shut it down to the first of the year, who cares? Let it stay down. Our line's drawn in the sand, and we cannot cross that line.
How is it caving though?
If we're gonna say we're gonna do it, we got to do it. We can't be. I can't say that we're on the radio. We can't be lollygagging. If we say we're gonna shut it down, keep it shut down. Make them cross because next year we're gonna be in the same boat. We're gonna have a reconciliation bill, and they're gonna do the exact same thing going forward. The minority party will always use this going forward. Once you give in to them, you can't allow them to blackmail the will of the people. The people gave Trump them control of the government, so we cannot allow them to blackmail us for what they want. It's just as simple as that.
I get it. I see what you're saying there, Alfonso. I do. But I would argue then they've already caved. Trump found money to pay the military on October 15th. Was that caving? That was the right thing to do in my estimation. So, as I'm reading into your argument, they already caved. And that's the part of this where I get what you're saying. But if you're targeted in what you do to try to make sure, you're still doing the basics of government, and yes, there's a big picture conversation to have around all this stuff. I agree with you. I just, I don't think this is it right now. Paul in Kansas City, got a minute? What's up, Paul?
Hey, real quick, Pete, I think right now, tactically, Senator Thune should come out right now and say, hey, look, I'm going to take care of the American people along with the president. I'm going to vote the nuclear option on government shutdowns. We're going to go with a simple majority up or down vote because we feel it's important to take care of the American people. We know this can come back later, but for this issue, we're going to do it because we need your
Dicey, that's if they go to 51 votes, nuclear option to open up the government instead of 60 needed in the Senate. The long game there is going to benefit the Democrats when they get back in power. They will do whatever they want on spending. That's dicey, Paul.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know, but Harry Reid did it.
Well, he did it with judges. But yes, you're right. I see what you're saying, Paul. Got to run, my man. Good call. I appreciate you.